All right, Robert, are you ready to experience the terrors of the Blob?
I am.
Right, just make sure it's a timestamp 0. Oh, and this is a Criterion transfer. Excellent.
Yes, I'm glad they got it. It's a good looking print.
In three, two, one, go.
Yeah, this is a kind of a surprising one for Criterion, but I mean, kind of cool because that's what I have right here. It's not my copy. I just borrowed this from my friend, but it's a nice Criterion release.
Yeah, that does
Uh,
look cool.
got some good stuff. You know, kind of cool for a cheesy '50s B movie like this to get the Criterion release. But I mean, this was a Paramount picture.
Yeah, you would think this would go to like Scream Factory.
Yeah, totally. Like the remake did.
Well,
Yeah,
because
this
like
one.
they got the Fly and
Mhm. Yeah, like The Fly, you'd think would get an Arrow. I mean, it may have by now, but like Arrow or Criterion or something.
I just
But
mean the original The Fly. They got Scream Factory got that.
oh, cool. Okay. So I do like this opening credits. The title sequence. It's very simple. I like the art
It is very 50s.
design. It's very 50s, and the song is insane. It's so 50s and so out of place for a horror movie, but it was a really big hit. This was a popular 80s song. The Blob theme song was a
Matthew
50s
Bass
hit.
says, "Beware of the Blob." Okay, so do you know about this? We almost got a third The Blob.
Uh, Go for it. I know this got a sequel, Beware the Blob, in the early '70s,
No,
but
I
I'm
mean
not aware of
a
anything beyond that.
third, like a second remake.
Oh, okay, that I did not know.
Rob Zombie was attached to remake this at one point.
Oh my god, the Hick version of the Blob,
I
sure.
I kind of wish we'd seen that. I want to know what that looks like.
Ah, Jesus.
Yeah, just remake it every 30 years. It's fine.
Yeah, Beware of the Blob. So I have a friend who years ago was on a cruise and he got really sick and he was like throwing up over the side of the boat and there was a mariachi band there on the cruise and they were playing something and he's just standing there sick and he's like, why the fuck is this so familiar? And it took him and he was like, wait, this mariachi band is playing a rendition of the Blob theme song. And he was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die listening to a mariachi version of the Blob song. That's gonna be the last thing I hear." Yes, Noah, we did just call you the Blob 1958. Welcome. So this is iconic Hollywood actor Steve McQueen. Do you believe him as a high school student here?
As much as I believe Tom Welling is a freshman in season 1 of Small.
What's insane is Steve McQueen. He's 28 when he makes this. He is as old as Timothy Chalamet and Tom Holland are now, and he looks 40 in this movie.
No, like I say as much. I think this is the worst I've seen of it. Like, this
It's
is
the
not a high
worst.
school student
Wait, just cast him as man. Why is he a high schooler?
because this is meant for teenagers to go make out with their girlfriends too.
Yep, that's what this movie's for. It's you need boring talking scenes for people to make out during at the drive-in or whatever, and then the scary stuff happens.
Kind of like The Conjuring. Oh.
Oh no, that's not unfair for the paranormal activity movies.
Well, see, those the difference is there is nothing happens for that whole movie.
No,
No,
I just
that's
said that
that's
there's
not a bad way to go out.
that is a deep cut for a mariachi band. That's true. But as you'll see, though, the remake's interesting how it picks just enough of like the basic structure in pieces of this movie, but the characters and story are completely different. But the setup is very similar. We got the meteor, we got this old man going to investigate. It's really cool and very solid the way the remake kind of cherry picks elements and then puts a new spin on it.
Oh, so this you mean the remake isn't just Psycho 98 again?
No, it's surprisingly not a shot for shot remake.
Oh my god, it's Majin Buu's egg.
Yeah, the effects in this movie are adorable. And should be said, this was a very low budget movie, even for 50s standards. Like this was a low budget, cheesy horror
Mhm.
movie, but did really well. I mean, it made a few $1 million, so it turned a pretty huge profit, and was a hit for this type of movie.
Mhm.
So like that's the charm of this. It's a small town. It's very low budget, and I know like the town that a lot of the actors and people who are in this were very proud of it. Like it has a following for a reason. It's an important movie. It's just not one I'm gonna go back to a lot.
Don't touch it.
Nope, nope. Ew. Though I do think this scene, but in both versions, is still pretty effective. Like just imagine like watching this as a kid back in the day. Like this is just the subject matter of it is genuinely scary.
No, this is creepy. I don't know why he decided to touch it with a stick.
Yeah, well, nobody's perfect.
No, I know the big thing that the remake does is it kind of has a Steve McQueen character and then he's instantly taken
Yes.
out.
Yeah, it
No,
subverts the
who would you
final
pick to
book.
make a Blob remake now? Rob Zombie.
That would be fun.
Um,
Mike Flanagan.
can
It'll
you
be 10
imagine the Blob
episodes.
with a monologue at the end of each episode? What would the
No, it'll be
metaphor
about the
even
town.
be?
Sadness.
Again?
the the blob represents depression.
Stress eating.
Hmm. Yeah, you do it like Midnight Mass, where each episode you just kind of flesh out the small town, get to know each of the characters.
Other than Rob Zombie. Um, William Eggers, 18th
William Eggers,
century. What?
Robert Eggers.
That's what I said.
Okay, that's not what I heard, but I'll take your word for it.
Just imagine like 18th century, the Blob. Ye
I was
bastards!
gonna say.
Ye ate me lobster.
It's like, oh god, we just dealt with the. It's like, whoa, the plague's done. Oh shit.
The Blob.
Oh, this is way worse. But you can see already, like, oh, there are similarities with them finding the old guy infected, and they're gonna take him to the doctor. It starts pretty close to how the remake does.
No, I feel like Flanagan is our answer for every who should remake this horror movie. It's,
He's the one who's good at it.
he he's not my pick for this just because I don't think he's right for this material. You need somebody who can do that schlocky thing, and he's
Yeah.
very. I don't want to say elevated because I hate that term, but he's very sophisticated in his
Mm.
storytelling. And I've not seen anything to convince me he can make schlock.
Okay,
Um,
Noah has my back. He said he heard William Eggers.
I don't know. Roll back the tape. That's possible. I am exhausted today.
Oh boy.
Um, the position not a. We don't have like a wealth of big horror names that I like. There's like two.
Hmm. Well, and you need somebody who's good with visual effect. That
Yeah.
needs because that's the big thing you need to get right. And the reason why I kind of dread or roll my eyes just at the idea of a Blob remake is, oh, but it's gonna be shitty CGI and it's gonna look bad. And not if you have the right filmmaker behind it, but you need somebody who works well with
No, you know
visual
what?
effects.
You know what my answer is going to be because and it'll never happen. James Gunn.
Yeah,
He would
he'd
make
be
a
a good fit.
kick-ass Blob movie.
Yeah, like what he did with Slither, just that with the Blob.
Yeah, that movie like blew my mind in theaters. By the way, Slither.
Oh god, it's so gory.
It is. It's so cool.
Sir, what were you doing out in the middle of the night with this high school girl?
Oh, I'm going to add I Am Legend to our wheel because I have a
Oh,
very
okay,
specific
cool.
original one version in mind. It is The Last Man on Earth, or I think starring Vincent Price. I don't know if you've seen it, but it kicks
Ooh.
ass.
Oh, cool. Yeah, there's that one, and there's also the Omega Man
Omega Man, which I have
with
not seen and
Charles
I've
Weston.
heard
I need to see both.
bad things about,
Yeah, I I mean,
but
I'd be down for a triple feature, do all three, but
we
we
can
can
do
add it
that.
to the wheel.
I've read the book.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I am an apologist of the Will Smith movie, but I acknowledge its flaws.
I like it. I don't like that third act much, but I like the first two acts.
I prefer the alternate cut that sticks to the book.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the better version. Thanks, test screenings.
It does have my favorite Will Smith meme though. The no, no, and then what happens like right after if I have that? It's been a while, but if I have it in my head right, the structure of that movie right after that's like the most heartbreaking thing. But
Mm.
no, that movie's biggest problem for me is just are those supposed to be vampires or monsters? Like, what are they?
Yeah, they're a new species. I mean, well, I mean, you've read the book. I mean, they're more like zombies, kind of, but they're called vampires just because, like, there's no other equivalent to those creatures when that book's written. So they're vampires, kind of, but really, that's just what they're called.
Right, but they're also like intelligent, and
Yeah.
the things in that movie are just CGI monsters.
Mhm. Yeah, they're kind of fast zombies. Clearly, like 28 Days Later, Dawn of the Dead were kind of influences on it.
Carl Vendetta. Is it just me or did someone else also thought that John Carpenter directed the '80s Blob? Uh,
That makes sense.
yeah, I mean I could see that. It's in that same conversation as a John Carpenter film. This car is very blue.
It is dabba dee dabba die.
Hey Robert, do you feel like almost nothing has happened?
Yes. But no, you just it's we're just hanging out with some 50s teens, gonna race cars because
I
that's what
just
they
like to
do.
imagine that's what '50s teens actually looked like, and we just kind of devolved as time went on to look younger and younger.
Yeah.
You know who
I
he kind of looks like? Steve McQueen in that shot. He kind of
mm,
looks like the guy that plays Professor Connors in Spider-Man 2.
oh yeah, the Dylan Baker. He's in a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised, from what I know of McQueen, this is an era film that I'm not very knowledgeable about. I'm surprised they got someone like him for this.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of stuff. I think the 60s, I want to say, was kind of his big, like, probably when most of his notable stuff came out. I
So
don't
this
remember
is
when
his
Bullet
before he
was.
was like famous.
Maybe. I like he was definitely a working actor.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly.
That
But
car is
yeah,
very
that's
pink.
an yes. No, that's an actor who's a big blind spot for me. Like I need Bullet. I should see that is kind of a big
I
one.
don't even know what that is.
Uh, yeah, it's a crime car movie. I don't-
Oh, off topic, but I just saw Suicide Squad, the games, season 4. We're finally getting Deathstroke. It just took 4 seasons.
when nobody
Nobody
cares.
cares. It's like on sale for
Now,
$5. I would have announced that before you put it on sale for $5. Like, hey, it's $5 and we're
yeah.
adding Deathstroke to the game.
So wait, well, is it gonna be Deathstroke or is it gonna be the real Deathstroke, meaning that the other Arkham Deathstroke was a fake Deathstroke? That's my question.
He's wearing the
It
same kind of mask as Arkham. It's just a still
okay.
image, so we don't know anything else. But
Spoilers, it'll be Mr. Freeze's wife.
oh my god,
But
I hope it is
so
like, oh, I'm the real Slade Wilson, and that other there's a fake running around here.
oh god. So I can't watch this and not get American Graffiti vibes because that's kind of my only window into like this era of American culture
hmm
with teens and cars and stuff. That's a good movie we're seeing.
I don't know if you have this, but I've seen a lot of like sitcoms and movies where they'll have like a bit where it's just two people in a wood in like a forest, but it's just a sound stage. This looks like a sitcom setup.
Yes, it absolutely does. And again, this is a very low budget movie, so like it's
I
fine,
know
but
it's just
the,
funny.
yeah, yeah, totally. No, like it does look like a '50s TV show, except it's in color and widescreen. You crazy 40-year-old kids driving your cars backwards racing.
This why is this questioning taking so long? Just tell them what they did and write them up. I mean, goddamn.
That's he's bored. Small town. What else is he gonna do tonight? And that is just an era that just feels so lost on us. I've never been in a situation where somebody in a public setting has picked a fight with me and said, "Fuck you, let's drive down. We are racing our cars." That hasn't happened to me yet. Maybe it will one day. But immediately, though, I will say one of the positives of this movie for me is we set up these guys kind of picking a fight with Steve McQueen, and it's easy to remember his character's name because his name is Steve in this movie. But then it quickly turns around to they're just guys fooling around. They're gonna be friends, kind of. That's kind of like you think, oh great, here are the movie bullies. They're gonna be dicks the whole movie, and no, just guys. It's kind of fun. That has a certain charm to it.
They're still in the same spot.
Yep. Look, we have 4 or 5 sets to work with. This movie we gotta use. Damn it.
But where's the blob?
Because we're supposed to be making out with our girlfriends right now, who we didn't bring. This was a horrible idea.
We should have started with the remake.
Yeah, like I said, like this movie does have a strong following. It's held in pretty high regard. It's a classic, and I mean, it's certainly an important movie. But eh, like, I feel like you just kind of had to be there. You know, it's a nostalgic thing for a lot of people, which I totally get. That shot's kind of cool of the old guy's arm
Yeah, and
all
I mean, I'm
blobified.
definitely being a little like over the top with it just because I am tired. But Noah Robert's waiting for the day where some guy calls him chicken and challenges him to a race.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
You freaking the plot twist is I
But
don't have a car. The
yeah, it's
blob is
just
gonna be on his arm for like the next half an hour, isn't it?
no, it doesn't take that. Don't worry. Oh God. It's just again, I want to give this movie its shot. I've seen this a couple times. Say, look, it's important. It was a big hit when it came out. It's a nostalgic thing, but also we have also seen and discussed movies on the channel much older than this that are a lot more entertaining and engaging and interesting.
My
This
thing
is
has always been
fine.
this is such a like 80s premise.
Mhm.
I don't think of this as a 50s movie because with the not only the sensibilities but technology, I don't know how you make this work in the 50s.
Yeah, and it's debatable if they pull it off, but I certainly respect the attempt. And that is a big thing that has going for it, where you can see why this is popular. Because when you think 50s B movie, what you usually think is a guy in a rubber costume chasing people around. That's what most of them are. And then you get something like this that is way out there and different. Just as a concept, it is kind of terrifying.
Meanwhile, back on the first set,
Yeah, they have like three trees and have to rearrange them for the different camera angles. Don't touch that with your hands.
it'd be so fucking funny if there was like a piece of the blob left and it just attached to him.
Meanwhile, back with the Hardy Boys.
Legitimately, though, these guys could be the Hardy Boys. Matthew Bass, who you calling a chicken? Oh, Beetlejuice is on Max.
I saw that too. I should finally watch it.
That was alright. I should watch it again though.
Guys, you don't need the lantern. We've got plenty of studio lighting.
They found Jason's shack.
That'd be. I want to see that movie where it's a blob movie or an alien movie, and then a Jason just shows up and starts killing people. I want to see more of these genres collide. Come on. This guy's got the right idea. He's like, I just want to go to the movies.
The spooky show. Uh, Random, just because that kind of reminded me. Have you ever seen A Clockwork Orange?
Yes, I have seen Clock. It's great.
Oh, the reason it reminded me is the because you know how that movie has made up language.
Mhm.
The word for good in that is horror show. I always thought that was interesting. I've read the book
Is
on
it?
that too. My dad loved that movie, so I've seen the movie. I've read the book. The book
Oh,
is
cool.
kind of a nightmare because it uses a lot more of that made up language to the point if you
Oh
don't
yeah.
have an encyclopedia next to you, that book is unreadable.
Yeah, my dad read the book pretty recently and liked it. I think his version though had like an index in the back, or
Yes,
like that had like the word
the
meanings, and
thesaurus.
so the thesaurus. Yeah, so he did. I remember saying it was kind of difficult to read, but he
I
also has
would
two different.
recommend the book because there is a seventh chapter or an extra
Yes,
chapter in the
yeah,
English
yeah. His
version that Kubrick purposely left out.
mhm. Yeah, my dad has two copies of the book, one with the extra chapter and one that was published in America that didn't have it.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Noah says Jason would beat the Blob in a fight. Obviously, I mean, of course.
So, oh my god. The
It's
guys
boiling
run.
acid.
It's kind of neat though that like the first thing they come up with to try to stop this thing is acid. Something that might actually work because most movies you think wouldn't go to that. Because oh, acid, yeah, it's a good idea.
Oh dear God, that looks like peanut butter and jelly.
It sure does.
We've tried one thing. Nothing will stop it.
Yeah, no, that line's so funny. She gives up hope fucking quick. I'll be right back. No, don't say that.
You can't say that.
Oh no, she's getting off screen to death.
Oh.
Like so, I can picture being a kid and finding this movie actually scary. Probably not you, since you grew up with RoboCop 2.
With me, it was very inconsistent. RoboCop 2, fine. Creepshow 2, mm-mm. And the
That
Creepshow
is
2
kind
bit,
of
admittedly, is just this.
it is. It's like an unofficial little Blob sequel. It's so good with the little tar monster.
Yeah.
I don't know what's worse. At least talk about the '80s versions, the Creepshow 2 tar monster or the Blob. They're both bad ways to go. I don't.
I don't know,
Neither
because
look
they
like a
both
good
kind of
time.
operate in the same way.
Hmm. Except with the tar one, it's like a couple characters get like stuck to it, and it rips their skin off. The Blob just kind of absorbs you.
Yeah, but then you have to be
Ugh.
like slowly broken down and
Yeah. Oh no, he got blobbed to death. Talk, Steve. Steve. Steve Harrington.
when are we gonna get the Stranger Things Blob episode?
I mean, we kind of did in season 3.
No, they should get the episode that Frank Darabont's directing should just be the Blob.
Sure.
And that's where we kill all the characters we don't need anymore.
But earlier up top, we were talking about like those 50s B movie remakes, most of which we got in the '80s. I've always said I think the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 one, really kicks that off, which is great. And then you get stuff that's a little different, like like the '80s Little Shop of Horrors movie, except it's a musical, but it's still a really big production. You get that, and then you get the three big ones we think of are John Carpenter's The Thing, the '80s The Blob, and the of course the Cronenberg The Fly, which all feel very similar-ish, kind of in the same vein. And I mean, at the time, The Fly was probably the most successful of those, at least initially, because with The Blob and especially John Carpenter's The Thing, we think of them as classics now and like, oh, those are the good remakes. Those are the remakes everyone likes. They met a lot of resistance when they were coming out. There were a lot of fans of those '50s movies that were not happy about them getting remade and did not like them.
Mhm.
I mean, John Carpenter's The Thing, you know, infamously did quite poorly and deserved so much better. But with the Blob, there were a lot of people, even to this day, who are like, "Nah, the '50s one's great. The '80s one, that's just popcorn '80s trash." And I think it's a better movie. But hey, man, if you like scenes of people talking,
This
this
is
is
the
a movie
movie
for
for
you.
you so far.
If you love monologues,
I mean, I love monologues when they're well written. So far, this hasn't really been a monologue. It's just
this is not a monologue movie.
it's just talking. Stop talking.
He kept talking and talking. He's got the Superman crest on his shirt. That's kind of cool.
Ugh.
But the big defense people have of this version is, well, but what's scarier is what you don't see. It's the suggestion of it. The remake, it's all gore and you see everything, and that's not as scary as the psychological element,
I
which
I hate that argument. Get your stick out of your ass and learn how to have some fun.
yeah. And to be clear, it can be done well when something's suggested but not actually shown, you know, theater of the mind. I mean, these things can be done well. I agree. This movie,
The problem is that
you, you need interesting characters.
yeah, I don't even know anybody's name in this movie.
Steve. I
Oh,
remember Steve.
is he played by Steve McQueen?
Yes.
I like to imagine Steve McQueen just being, I'm not learning my a new name for this movie. Just call me Steve.
And of course, a big factor of that is budget. And, you know, and to the movie's credit, it is creative with what it shows, what it doesn't show. You know, you only see the
Okay,
blob
but
so
here's
many
the thing.
times, but they just did the best with what they had. Yep.
Night of the Living Dead came out 10 years after this. This
Hmm.
cannot have bigger budget. Those characters are actually fun to watch, to do
Right.
things. I, tell me, what's these cops' names? Can you tell me?
Nope. They're investigating the blob. That's their
Um,
motivation. But look, they're on the set we were at a couple scenes ago. Like I said, I'm all for the benefits of psychological horror in theory, but sometimes you get something like the Thing or the Blob remake where you're like, yeah, but now I'm seeing it, and that's way fucking worse. If there's one defining trait of '80s horror, it's no. We're not doing theater of the mind. We are showing you fucking everything, and it's gonna
you
scare
will
the
watch
shit
it
out of
and
you,
you will like it.
and you will, yeah. That's what I think of '80s horror is the good and the bad, just the excess and the
That's just the
shock
'80s in
value.
general.
Hmm. But we got a murder mystery to solve. We got a locked
Oh
door,
no.
missing bodies. What's happening? And like I said, this creature as an idea is scary. But with the 80s one, it's like, okay, now we have the budget to kind of be more creative with it, you know. But it is a terrifying type of alien, you know. It gets everywhere. It's rough, it's coarse, it's irritating. Just a bad
Yeah.
time all around.
Anakin Skywalker is triggered right now.
One thing I do find more interesting, at least in comparing and contrasting them more than actually watching this movie, is just the small town vibe. You know, it has a quote unquote innocence to it, very
Mm.
50s, very clean, you know, but it's like what you bring to it's kind of like you know, it's the facade of the 50s, not the reality, because you know, like in the internal logic of the piece, it's like, oh yeah, all the gay people have been kicked out of here, you don't see any people of color here, it's just a clean American small
Whoa, 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 whoa.
town.
You can't say that.
No, it's just why I find it funny when people are like, "Oh man, that '50s one. It's just so cozy and you know simple." And it's like, yeah, because it's ignoring all the bad shit.
Wait a minute. Have you seen Blazing Saddles?
I have seen Blazing Saddles.
Is that the old lady from Blazing Saddles?
I will look it up.
The one
It's
that's
been a
like
minute.
up yours word I can't say.
I'm gonna say probably not, because like most of these actors do not have Wikipedia pages. Like I said, very old fashioned 50s small town, which again makes it interesting to compare to the 80s one, which is a lot grittier, a lot dirtier, that the people are more flawed. You know, this is the facade of the 50s, whereas this is the facade of a small town, and that's more, you know, kind of the reality. And with this one, with the blob, it's like if it represents anything, it's like, it's communism. It's this big red thing that's going around absorbing everybody, and we Americans got to kill it, got to stop it. That's the go-to easy way to analyze all these 50B movies is it's about communism, probably, because that's what we were really scared of in the 50s. Is that what the blob is? I don't know, probably. Or it's just a jelly monster. Who's to say? But scenes like this, the setup's great. This guy working on his car, he's vulnerable. He doesn't know the blob's coming, but it's not. Yeah, you can at least let us hear him scream or something. Make it
Oh my god,
scary.
it's jelly.
Okay, well, I don't know. It's just like, yeah, draw it. I
Just
don't know.
I don't want to sound mean, but I'm bored. Like
Yeah, I think it's a boring movie. And again, the blob effects are cute. They did the best they could. There's a lot of reversed footage. Playing back stuff with these little like clay models or whatever they were using. But I guess the biggest praise I'll give it is the compositing's pretty solid.
yeah.
Putting that thing in different environments, like that looks okay for what it is. Also, the 50s is kind of the big transitional decade from black and white film to color film. Obviously, there were plenty of color movies before the 50s, but this is when they're really starting to dominate. And this, unlike a lot of cheap sci-fi B movies, were black and white just because those are cheaper. But this being in color at least makes it stand out from a lot of those because the blob is this really weird, colorful creature. Again, so it's at least a memorable image.
Mhm.
These characters aren't, but creature kind of is. But even stuff like Creature from the Black Lagoon, which had a real budget behind it, even that was still black and white. Maybe for aesthetic purposes, maybe just because it was easier with the 3D. I'm not sure. And it's, especially if you're a horror fan, like you get to the 60s, and even though the vast majority of movies are in color by the 60s, you kind of still assume or think of horror movies as being in black and white just because the two everyone knows from the 60s are Psycho and Night of the Living Dead because they're both in black and white just because that was cheaper. And that kind of colors the whole decade where you're like, oh yeah, we weren't making color movies until like the 70s. And no, that's not true, but it's kind of all you think of for that decade. The 60s might be the biggest blind spot decade for me just because I have not seen much outside of Psycho and
Mhm.
Night of the Living Dead. Because I've seen a number of 50s movies and 40s ones, but 60s not
I think
much.
I think at this point, anything pre-70s is kind of a pretty big blind spot. However, I've seen like the Universal, at least that
Mm,
first wave of Universal
mm.
movies.
But one of my favorites from this decade was The Incredible Shrinking Man, just because it's so creative with the visual effects and all the sets and props and stuff, and the compositing, and it's just a really cool, entertaining movie with such a unique concept, and it lives up to its title. The whole movie, you are watching an incredible shrinking man. It's what you paid for. It's what you get. This, you get the blob sometimes.
Mhm.
You also get a lot of talking. Is it a crime to be 17 years old? It is if you're 40.
Could be.
Oh God. Oh no. Now we're at this scene.
Oh no,
Tell
not this
tell
scene.
tell me what you think of this kid's acting.
Mm.
Hey, Danny.
Are you afraid to go out by yourself? Acting.
I love. This is supposed to be her younger brother, and they look like 20 years apart at least. Is this the same Danny from The Shining?
Yes. They're about to act
Uh,
equal acting capabilities.
Get out of here, Danny.
Mm.
Get out of here. I love the scene with Steve's parents talking while he's in bed in his bedroom, and it's like, why is your son still living here? He is 57 years old. Kick him out.
Mm. Can we please just like keep changing the age every time? Dude, you're playing like 17, but you look 80. What is happening?
Gonna do this till you're 90.
Till you're 90.
But he's got to save the small town because he's a good American boy. And there is kind of a germ of an idea that's completely unintentional, but there's a theme that's festering beneath the surface of this movie that I find kind of interesting. You get just a little dash of this conflict between the youth and the authority, particularly the one cop character, and you just get that just a little bit a commentary of like this contrast, in the generations can't see eye to eye, and it's an interesting thing to bring to it when this stuff was festering and will then reach a boiling point in the 60s, because that's when everything explodes, reality is just shattered,
This is
it's
not
the
reality.
nightmare. Like we're shipping kids to Nam. It's a whole thing that's just obviously not on this movie's mind at all. It feels like there's just a little there of, oh man, this is we're all really gonna go to shit in less than 10 years.
You maniacs. You blew it up. Look at that 40-year-old boy.
I mean, for being a 70-year-old man, he passes for 40 pretty well,
Yeah. Look
I
at
will
you
say.
now, boy. It's gonna be bloodline rules.
And a lot of this movie is just not a favorite trope of mine of, I saw this crazy thing and people won't believe me about the crazy thing. It's like, yeah, because you
Oh,
said I'm talking crazy.
oh God, what is it? My there's one of those that drives me absolutely insane. Um, I can't think of it now. My least favorite of that is when like it's two people and then one person tries to like convince the other that what they saw. And I didn't see that. Yes, you fucking did. You were right there.
Are you sure you saw what you think you saw? Look at this loving relationship between a young high school girl and her 90-year-old boyfriend. It's very sweet.
Well, he's lifted the contract. It's till he's 90.
And I mean, you can already tell at this point that Steve McQueen is a good actor. Like, he's not bad in this. Like, he's totally fine. I just,
Mhm.
I need more, man. And I've never seen the sequel, Beware of the Blob. I think it's a more intentional comedy. I don't think it did that well. Comes out in the early 70s, which is a really weird time for a Blob sequel. And just not what you think of when you think of 70s horror, especially early 70s when we're still in fucking Vietnam. All I know from the second one is there's a bowling alley scene. There's a really big bowling alley scene. And that's kind of a fun set piece idea, location wise, for the Blob to infest. So I'll check it out at some point. But yeah, I'm not going to go back to this movie a lot.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're watching a movie.
Yeah. Well, the movie theater set piece is the big one from this movie, which will carry over into the remake. And that's a fun thing to compare. Is in this one, these kids are at a movie theater, and it's a cheap, shitty 50s scary like ghost movie. It's a black and white. It's in the woods. And then in the 80s version, the movie they're going to see is like a shitty slasher movie.
Mhm.
So that's kind of a fun little cultural element
Yeah,
to
that's fun.
compare. I hate it. I hate it when people talk during the movie. Get out of here, asshole. Crazy kids.
You fucking
Uh,
bastards.
okay, so that poster says the vampire and the robot, but that's clearly a Forbidden Planet poster. What's going on with that? Unless that was the tagline and the actual title was cut off, I'm not sure. That was clearly a Forbidden Planet poster. I love this guy is like, shut up. Like, we believe you. If the subtext of this movie was it's actually about a gay romance, I'd like it way more. It'd be way more interesting. Because Steve and other guy have way more chemistry than Steve and his girlfriend. I want to see them have more screen time together. Yeah, the nicest thing I could say about this movie is it has a charm to it, but also he probably just had to be there. And it's different from some of those other remakes because the thing, the 50s one, even if it's a little dated, it's still that one's still generally regarded as a classic in its own right and as a good classic science fiction horror film. John Carpenter's version's just more faithful to the story and is a very different beast. The Blob remake to me is just, oh, it's just this but better. It's just the more fully realized version of this concept.
I'm having that so far.
And the Fly would be another one more like the Thing, where like the '50s Fly and the '80s one are very different movies. It should both be seen, but with the Blob, it's like, yeah, that's just we just have the superior version now.
Dude, like nothing has happened this entire fucking
they're
movie.
they're talking to the townspeople. Look, we got an extra set. Shut up.
Oh, masterpiece of
This
a
is all you
movie.
see in this room. You get a wall in the foreground and a wall in the background with a doorway in the middle. That's all you get. And now we're back in the woods.
All these squares make a circle. All these squares make a circle. All these squares make a circle.
Damn teens in their cars making out middle of the night. Monsters, what are you talking about? Monsters. But see, look, we built a bar set. Got a dozen bottles and a shelf.
Oh my god. It's revolutionary.
Now, this part of the movie, I think, was shot like an actual small town. Because, yeah, we did not. Here, we're just going to be shooting at actual stores.
Now, I think I have seen bits of this because I think this is probably the worst the Blob will look.
Probably. There are a few shots that have. Well, there's a really bad one near the end, but we still got a half hour to go. And I think if the big thing I change about this movie is if you're gonna make it about the small town and the Blob picking them off one by one, let's at least let us get to know them. Most of the victims in this movie are just off screen, and the most you get's like the doctor in the
Mhm.
opening. But again, let us care about these people more.
Mhm.
And then the flip of that, the counter argument is like, well, what about a Jason movie? What about a Friday the 13th movie? You don't care or know
But
about
those are
most of those
different.
characters because but Jason shows up every 5 minutes at least.
Yeah.
He's always there. We've been looking for the Blob for like a half hour. Oh, there it is.
It's been 84 years.
Oh my god, dude! For a 98-year-old man, I'm impressed he could just lift her up like that. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
It's a little weird that the 100-year-old is like hitting on this like 15-year-old, but
Yeah, it was the '50s. It was a different time.
I've heard it both ways.
But this scene is very similar to one in the remake with
Hmm.
the main guy and main girl and trapped in a store. And then it slays them. Oh my god! Even though the effect isn't great, this reveal is cool, and again will be mirrored in the remake of oh no, the Blob it can just go right under a door, just get kind of flat and moves anywhere. And it's a nice little payoff to that scene with the doctor. It's like, well, how could a murder happen here? There's no bodies, and the door was locked from the inside. Oh, that's why. So it took an hour, but we finally got to set up the payoff. That's nice. Yeah, is
The,
this what is this? The ooze?
the door locks.
like I said, there's some fun reverse photography in this. That's yeah, it's something. Shut up about the dog. You've known it for like 5 minutes.
Have that with the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's one of the worst ones of that. So what we've established is the blob is the antithesis to the mind flare in Stranger Things. The mind flare likes it cold. The blob doesn't like it cold.
Um,
So who would win that fight?
um, yes.
You are gonna have some blob in your blob movie, right?
See, this could be a cool set piece, like hiding in the grocery store, and
Hmm. Hey, you kids. This just makes me want a Shaun of the Dead moment where this group runs into our other another group that's just the opposite of them.
yes.
We're running from the blob. What are you doing? Going to the pub. Oh, okay. Good luck. Why are they talking in a phone? I wish the more of the movie focused on this guy. Like, why is this town going crazy? They are all pulling a prank on me. I like that his ego's that big. We should be doing
Everyone
more with
loses their
it.
mind.
All right, gang. We got to set up a trap for the blob.
What an absolute ego.
I think they've got it in for me. And this is just thrown in there. That they've heard about my war record and it bugs them. What? Why? it, again, it's like there's something in there, just a little bit of the youth having issues with war, military, which is really gonna explode in the '60s. And I don't. Are we saying something? Are we predicting something? I don't know, but it's in there. Or this is just a really insecure guy. It's probably that. These kids heard about my war records, so they got the whole town to turn on me and drive me insane. And hey, look, it's a married couple in two beds because it's a '50s movie.
My grandparents were like that.
Hmm. That's kind of a funny gag with this old guy.
Mhm.
I Again, I wish more of the movie was that. Let us see more of like these quirky side towny characters.
Mhm.
I want to see the people in like the weird townies in the Friday the 13th movies deal with the blob. But let's see create your crazy Ralphs and your diner ladies have to team up and fight a
If this
space
movie
monster.
had a crazy Ralph, it'd be instantly 100 times better.
Yes. Oh, Danny, you fell asleep on the job, you fucking idiot.
You maniacs!
I'm guarding you, but you're doing a shit job at it.
You blew it all up.
They should have let Steve McQueen play dual roles. Let him be Danny too. Fuck it. Yeah, but now the movie is about like just getting the youth together to make a lot of noise and warn everybody and kind of get the town to band together. This movie is kind of an optimistic view of society. The town is in danger. Listen to me. Several people have died, most of which you've not seen, but that's fine.
You maniacs! If we stay the course, we are all dead. This is the only contribution I have right now. It's just stupid movie quotes.
Okay. Stop being repetitive. Think of some other ones. Take your time. You can throw a Clockwork Orange quote in there, whatever you want. Listen to me.
It's bigger. We have to shrink it down.
Ooh, what would a Saw versus Blob movie look like? How does
The Blob.
Jigsaw
I want to
incorporate the Blob
play a
into his Saw
game.
traps?
All you do is consume. But what will happen when you have to not eat? If you
Your
don't
sin is
eat, you will
gluttony.
be. Your sin is gluttony. If you eat, you will be frozen in place and shattered. Live or die. Make your choice.
What else can we do with this franchise? Can we introduce a Lady Blob? Can we do a Bride of the Blob movie?
Please. But it just ends like Bride of Frankenstein, where the blob looks at it. Look, she looks at herself and just kills herself.
Yeah, and this scene is why this movie is a bit irreverent, or this town has been irreverence, because most of these people, these extras, like these are just townspeople. They're not actors. They're people just coming for the day to help fill out these crowd shots because they're making a movie, and and again, that's something that this has. Like this is a pure a movie, but like this is a pure small town, like middle of America movie. Like this is not a Hollywood movie. You don't see a lot of these made outside of the Hollywood system, so that's something. But stretching for compliments, man. I'd rather watch what these kids are watching.
Oh my god, this is still going.
Yeah,
It's only got about like 10 minutes left.
more like 15. Look out behind you. There's a blob. Ew, it's oozing.
All the things it's missed. The Brady Bunch reunion. You know, when you think about it,
uh,
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, is just a remake of the Blob.
oh my god.
You're laughing? These people are dying and you're laughing? Whoa, it's like The Shining. Oh my god.
Bum.
Oh, we
When the
actually got like 5 seconds of Blob footage.
yeah, it's pretty cool. When the film breaks, I wish we pulled the Gremlins 2 and just Hulk Hogan shows up, break the fourth wall. You know, that'd be something.
Dude, what's this, the 50s? I don't know who wrestles wrestling in the 50s, but I would have respected the fuck out of this movie if, like, the Iron Sheik or someone popped in.
Who's uh who's The Rock's dad? How far back did he go?
Oh, God. Rocky Johnson, I think? I don't
Might have been 60s.
know.
Not
My
sure.
knowledge of wrestling kind of falters out past previous before Hogan.
Hmm. Please scream and run around in circles.
Because wrestling was also a very different thing. You didn't have the weekly
Mhm,
shows at the time. It was you were on the road and just doing certain house shows.
mhm.
It's funny to think about, but the televised wrestling like we have now, that's not a thing until the 90s.
Yeah, and that's kind of crazy.
Before that, it was house shows and pay per view. Yeah, that looks rough.
It looks rough, but I like the miniature. Bela Lugosi is in a movie. That's fun. Oh my god, this kid's gonna shoot it with his fake gun. What is he, stupid?
Yes, he's in the
he does.
assume.
He does. My favorite trope when like somebody's shooting a gun at Superman or something, they run out of bullets and then just throw the gun. The kid did that, but it wasn't a real gun, so there were no real bullets. So it was entirely useless. It's all over. It's all over. But yeah, like so that movie theater bits, the most iconic scene of the movie. People running out of theater screaming is fun. There's some adorable miniature shots, but some of the blob moving around doesn't look great. But it's gonna be worse coming up because we're gonna get just a matte painting of the blob just over taking this building, and it's just a still shot. There's no animation or movement whatsoever. Don't go to the cellar. I've seen Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, and then we make this kind of a moment, and I'm not sure because now the cop who's been a dick the whole movie, yes, this is
That looks
gonna
really
attempt a
bad.
hero movie. Yeah, it's just oof. The blob suddenly got very flat, but now this guy with his war experience, he's gonna take the shot. But will he succeed? Take the shot.
Do it.
Okay, there's some animation with the electricity. That's something. I love how heavy this scene is. It's like it's really depressing. Like that's a really dour moment. It's on fire. This is the most defeatist fireman I have ever seen in anything.
Well, you know,
We've done all we can. Oh no, the blob is coming. Stay away from the windows. I'm not afraid.
I'm not afraid anymore. Can we have the Blob versus it?
Yes.
What would the Blob's like fear be? Would it just turn into ice?
The Iceman cometh.
Oh my god! If it turned into Arnold Mr. Freeze,
Yes.
that would be the greatest movie ever.
Yes. No, make a Batman versus the Blob movie where Batman and Mr. Freeze have to team up to stop the Blob from destroying Gotham
Oh,
City.
Hollywood!
Fuck
If you're
yes.
watching this, James Gunn, please make
Please.
that the Brave and the Bold. I don't care about Damien.
Like I said, I love how suddenly depressing this scene is. With the kid, I'm like, oh my god, is this gonna end like the mist?
Just imagine if it did. He went crazy and
That'd
just started
be
taking
insane.
people out.
I'd have so much more respect for this movie if it ended with something insane like that. I'm like, oh my god, this the tone gets really heavy.
No, that is kind of my. That is what that's what I mean though. Is like you're not going to get anything like that from a '50s movie.
Right.
In many ways, I think this is held back by when it came out.
Probably. But then again though, a lot of those low budget kind of schlocky cheap 50s movies do go to some hardcore places because they could get away with it because they
Mm,
were just these shitty little low budget. So you'd be surprised how dark some could go. Horror has always been this little underground kind of underdog genre where every once in a while one will slip through the cracks and do something insane
mm,
and shocking. And then, that we end the 60s. I mean, remember, Psycho's 1960. That's just 2 years after this. And that's like a real movie. That's not cheap schlock. And then in 1968, you get Night of the Living Dead, where everyone's like, oh my God, you can do that? Like,
mm.
I wish this had a grim, nihilistic ending.
No,
But it's not that kind of
that's why
movie.
we need to remake it again. Give it that.
Yeah.
Rob Zombies would just be an ate the entire town. That's why I want it.
And then what happens when the blob consumes everything? Does it just die? Is it just sitting over the world and then just
It's okay. I'm gonna pitch you. I'm gonna pitch
dies?
you a
What?
the ending of a Blob trilogy. The camera zones out. It's the Earth covered in a thin pink armor. The Blob has consumed the world. Suddenly, a face appears in the pink mist and looks at the camera and goes, "We are the Blob." And then it rolls the credits. Mm.
Get your fire extinguishers. Get your plastic cartridges.
Is that what they
Turn
say?
turn in your metal weapons. But see, this movie's about working together. It's about this nice little old town banding together, saving the day, because people are good.
No,
Men are still good.
you're not. You're never.
If you seek the Blob's monument, look around you.
Oh, okay. I've changed my answer. I know who I want to remake the Blob. Can we please get Zack Snyder's The Blob?
Sure, that's a
Can
good.
you
He's good with visual
the
effects.
the Blob jumping out, and then it just goes into slow motion as it attaches itself to the old man?
Sure,
Please,
I'm down.
I need this now. And then the Blob can like jump in the air like the Hulk or like Superman, and it'll slow mo as he's passing by a church.
Hey, according to the lyrics of the song in this movie, it leaps, it slides. I mean, I haven't seen it do any leaping, but it's in the song, so it's canon.
They leap now.
They leap now. I didn't think we were gonna make it. Okay, so the note we leave this movie on is weird, and I have several questions. Oh god, that effect's not great. So the blob is frozen. It was frozen today, and they're gonna transport it to the Arctic. And our last line of the movie is Steve McQueen saying, "As long as the Arctic stays cold." And then we end with a question mark. The end question mark.
Global
Is
warming.
this a global warming warning? Is it? But it's 1958. Like, was that a thing? I don't know. Was that or is it a joke? Like, yeah, it's the Arctic. As long as it's always cold, because it's always cold. I can't
I
tell.
don't think it's a
Is this a
joke if
message
you're. You can't do the joke if you're gonna have like the question mark.
movie? The question mark.
But
That's just
that would be a great way to do a sequel. Now is the Arctic heated up.
is yes. Like, I agree that that's one place you could go with it. Just or that's your end of your remake is the blob's frozen, but it starts melting, it starts thawing, and then that's how you open your sequel. That'd be great.
Can you imagine the sequel to the Blob, Son of the Blob?
You joke, but for some reason that was the alternate title of Beware the Blob. It was also called Son of Blob.
Of course it
I should watch
was.
that movie.
All right. Well, that was our
Ooh,
commentary on the Blob. I didn't have a lot to say. I didn't like it very
hmm.
much. I'm glad I watched it. If you're watching after the fact,
Hey,
thank
not
you so
good.
much for watching. Please consider hitting the subscribe button. If you are watching live,